Good morning. Monday mindset. Good to be back. We had a little hiatus there because traveling plans and dance nationals and crazy schedules didn't keep us totally in sync, and that is okay. Sometimes that happens. But good morning, everyone. This is Carol, so AKA Naughty Boss, live back on the Southeast Coast with
TwoSistas. Hey everyone, my name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 6.0 on this Mindset Monday, and today is the 17th of July, and obviously a lot of weather woes, and we were just recently chatting on the phone before we hopped on the video. And I know a lot of friends that are going through some travel woes that are in the Southeast right now, trying to get back to the Northeast. So, and she said something really perfect there about just some things are out of our control, and I thought to myself, that is someone who has packed her patience.
Yeah, you do. And anytime you travel, you have to. And a lot of people, I was actually witnessing a lot of, I don't know if they're novice flyers or things that, because we fly often, that I take for granted. So we had a very smooth flight, Breeze Airway. It's a breeze. Well, I know a few people have had some minor delays here or there. We've only had really one delay with them, and it was about 20 minutes. So it was nothing that was too cuckoo. And then our second delay, which would have been, I think, our seventh flight with them, we were 40 minutes behind. But that had to do with because there were storms up north, and they thought they would have to possibly circle a little bit. So they had to make sure they had actually extra fuel. So, but you're excited, you're on. And so literally, like, we had no issues leaving out of Broadway today, but we do understand that there are quite a few flights with JetBlue that I know of that had some issues from Bradley to, let's see, West Palm, Bradley to Miami, and also Worcester to Fort Lauderdale. And these are flights that were today and also tomorrow and Wednesday have been canceled. So I'm not really sure what that piece is about. I haven't really looked into it, but I do know there were some issues. The other thing that when you're flying with also packing your patience is really knowing your whereabouts, understanding, especially if you haven't flown in a while. So I saw at least 1, 2, 3, 4 people on our Breeze flight this morning, which got off like a breeze. And we actually got in at 8:49, and I've already completely unpacked because I'm only 4 miles from the airport. And on my second load of laundry, and everything is, the cats are all, taken care of and all that. And so thanks to Joey, who picked us up and took care of the cats for us. But people, when they get on the plane, you should really be aware of your seat number. So look at your boarding pass. Several people were trying to sit in other people's seats, just thinking. Now, there is one airline, I believe it's Southwest, where you actually get on board by your boarding order. So there's no seat assignments, but 99.9%, most airlines do have a seating assignment. So with that, people were choosing other seats because they didn't want to be in the back. And so I was kind of watching the flight attendants kind of deal with that. Well, why can't I? Well, because your boarding pass, you legally have to sit where you've been assigned. If you wanted to change your seat, you could have done that, but you can't do it now. And it was a fairly full flight. So a lot of times if someone gets in the seat or they're uncomfortable, most flight attendants are very helpful and say, hey, let's see if there's any empty seats and see if we can redirect you somewhere else. Then actually, John and I both had aisle seats, and the woman next to him, had a backpack on. She didn't take any of her stuff off. And when you're in it with a backpack and it's, on your back, it's, I don't know, 12 to at least 18 inches widthwise. So she's banging into people. She's trying to get into her seat and she can't because, she goes, I don't want to sit here. This is on the wing. I don't want to be here. So again, the flight attendant said, well, that's the seat that you're assigned, and we are a tight fit right now. But if there happens to be any seats available, I'll let you know. But for now, she said, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, you either stay in the aisle and block everyone else from getting to the seats, or you sit down until the flight attendant gets a chance to figure it out. So, of course, John and I just like, ay, ay, ay. And then there were people that just, again, not paying attention and sitting in the wrong seats. These individuals, not on purpose, that they just didn't bother to look. So then there was a backup of people getting on saying, wait a minute, those are my seats. No, they're not. Well, you're in the wrong row. Oh, well, we didn't know. And so, then you get them have to come out and them trying to get, so, or the other piece of traveling, and I find this more and more with elderly people. I know elderly people sometimes feel that kind of entitlement thing because they're older, and I sort of get that to a certain degree. But we had 6 people on our plane that were in wheelchairs. So everyone else that was not in a wheelchair, that was probably similar age, decided what they're going to get in the wheelchair line. And so they play, the gate people are telling them, well, you weren't called. You're in boarding 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be. But they're getting on. Well, they need special assistance. Well, I have a cane. And they go, do you need assistance? And they're, well, no. Well, then you can't go on with them. But there's a rhyme to, like, we get, people traveling with small children. It's nice that they, anyone that's active military gets to go on first. And I think for most people, when you're checking in luggage, you don't really care about getting on so quickly. But it's those of us, and me included, that would like to get on to make sure, especially if it's a full flight, if I'm taking on carry-on, that's got to go above, that you hopefully get that. Because what happens is people in other rows get nervous and they may go backward or forward and not use their own thing above. So it's funny how I noticed it a lot today, that people were either not in sync or not paying attention or just thought they could switch things. And, it's got to be orderly. I mean, and that helps the flight attendants make sure that the cabin is secure, everyone's seated, so the pilots can do their job and get us to where we want to go on time.
Yeah, that is so true. Along with packing your patients, you really have to, as you said, like pay attention, like check your boarding pass, or of course, a lot of people do it, via their phones, but, make sure you're sitting in the correct area. It's, I think always, excuse me, a good idea to review all that. It's almost as if, when the flight attendant, as they're starting the taxiing and they go through their spiel on, and they have to do that by FAA regulations. So kind of have your own personal regulations. Okay, I have 2 carry-ons. What do I need to be aware of? Where am I sitting? Where am I situated? All that kind of stuff. And for me, it's, of course, out of habit, I look to see where the exits are. Of course, what bathroom may be closer. Is it the front one? Is it the back one? I mean, I try to avoid that, but, just so that, because that it just makes it a more calming kind of transition for sure when you are traveling.
Right. And then there's, then one of the basic etiquettes, as well as, to me, it's pretty much common sense, is when you have people that are departing. So now you've landed and, you want to get your belongings, and say you were one of those ones that, maybe it wasn't your fault that you had to put your carry-on items on the overhead further down. So we had quite a large gentleman whose 3 bags, not even 1, 3 bags, because he was traveling with 2 other people, were way behind him. So, he got up and, immediately went in the opposite direction. So people were like, instead of saying, hey, just FYI, I just want to get my luggage just over here behind me. And it's just those little things that really make things for a smooth transition. And then the row in front of him, I watched an elderly woman So she's next to the window, obviously 3 seats. You got the window seat, center seat, and the aisle seat. The aisle person was already up because he's the first one to get out of that aisle, but can't go any further because all the rows in front of him haven't moved. But he manages to get his carry-on from above out. The young woman that was in the middle, she had her backpack. She also had something in the overhead, but hers was ahead of her, which is also a great idea if you can do that, because then you can get out of your aisle right away, go ahead and start moving if the line's moving, and then grab it on the way out. Well, this particular woman behind her that was sitting in the window seat, same aisle, she said, you have to move. And so the girl was, texting, she had, earphones on. Excuse me? She said, I need to get my luggage. And she said, where do you expect that I'm going to go? I'm not even in the aisle. People in the aisles beyond them were already standing. Obviously, the people in the front were standing and slowly moving to exit. She goes, where would you like me to go? I have nowhere to go. You can't, there's no way for you to get out. And the woman got quite indignant over that. And again, it's common sense. Where would you like the 2 people that are in front of you, and you can't, and she's hunched over because she can't even stand upright because she hasn't moved beyond the point of where the overhang is. And, I gave an A+ to this young woman because she handled it with grace and said, ma'am, there's absolutely nowhere for me to go. Yeah, and the woman, it almost looked like at one point she was going to get on the seat and try to climb over her. And this was a woman probably, I'm guessing in her 70s.
Wow.
Where do you think you're going to go? And then the woman got all aggravated. And the point being is, no one wants to be on the plane any longer than you have to. We all know that. I think we can all agree to that. One, it could be that you're excited because you're on vacation, or excited because you want to get home. But at the end of the day, you can't move any faster than the people that are in front of you. So again, it's not even just, the young woman packed her patience. The other woman needed to pack not only patience, but common sense.
That seems to be
that girl wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme for a lot of things going on. Packing your patience and common sense for sure.
Yes. Now, do you got any alerts? Because I have not, like I said, we were in Dance Nationals for 4 solid days, which was amazing. Congratulations to Kathy Taylor's dance studio. That was their last hurrah because she's 75, still very vibrant, excellent teacher and instructor and owner, but it's time for her to retire. So the studio closed. So there was a lot of tears. Ray won one of her routines, her team's routine won national champ. So they were all excited about that. That was exciting. We saw some amazing talent. And, obviously being in the chair and dance industry versus dance studio industry, a 4-day competition is a lot. I did lose my voice cheering for Reagan and her team. But yeah, it was a great event. And so as far as getting updates, the only updates I was getting were, placements.
Well, of course, there are a lot of updates, and there's a lot of updates in the political arena, and I'm not even going to go there because honestly, it's just not worth my time. But what I will say is that Tucker Carlson, of course, has a potential deal going on with a conservative shopping app called Public Square for his new show on Twitter, according to CNBC. And the tagline, of course, below that, the person wrote, "You know what this means? A meltdown from Fox News is imminent." Because Tucker Carlson, there's also news out there that he's starting, of course, his own media company. So that seems to be a lot of the talk on Twitter again, and a lot of course, pet videos that I'm getting, all these cute things like of doggies eating their frosty paws, and it's so adorable. And then of course there's I don't know who this person is, but they're referred to as at Clown World, and they show these hilarious videos. And this particular one that I am looking at is actually in reference to, I'm not sure what the name of the group is, but it's another group that is blocking traffic, and they sit there in the roadway. And of course, a few days ago, there, I think it was, I want to say in Germany, I'm sure I'm probably wrong, were protesters doing the same thing, but they epoxied their hands to the pavement.
Oh, Lord.
And needless to say, that was the big thing going on, because of course, emergency personnel had to be called. And some of them were told, we're going to have to chop your hand off. Now, whether they did or,
Yeah.
I mean, just, so anyways, yeah, that's some Twitter news going on, but.
You can't fix stupid, that's for sure.
Well,
I'm all for protesting, but like, safety first, number one. Again, know your surroundings, and you're trying to make a statement. You want to, in this case, slow down the traffic so your voice is heard. But then you end up that you really need emergency services that are trying to find their way through the traffic jam that you've already caused for an emergency that you also created. So there's that.
that's true, but one kind of political thing that obviously has been in the news a lot, and it has something to do with The View in reference to a certain someone occupying 1600 whose son has a particular problem. Well, they have a view, they've cooked up a different type of conspiracy theory, saying that it was planted to blame Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Well, and whether, I guess, in some regards, I guess that there's always that possibility. I mean, let's be real. There is. But at the end of the day, I go back to that video from the night before, and he was obviously under the influence, and because there are certain traits of people that do use that substance, that they do. He was doing that. He has a history of it. So it's more plausible than not that it was his. It's more plausible not that he was higher than a kite in this particular video. And as I stated, when I watched it, I saw the obvious traits that he was doing. But what I was paying attention more was the Dr. Jill with her. You know how you get, women are very good at this. When they're a little pissy, they are irritated, and they are annoyed, but they're also trying at every ounce of their being to deal with their wrestling of the anger or whatever's going within them internally, because they really want to just probably take the flip-flop and hit someone's head take the flip-flop and hit someone's head, right? Well, her body language, as well as her facial expressions, you could see how very annoyed would be a very calm word to say. She was very annoyed, which how could annoyed be calm? Because I've got other choice words that I would have put in my thought process if I wanted to say them on the air, but I don't. She was PO'd at her son. She just beyond wanted to wring his neck. And you see that as she turns to look at him, and there's her husband, grabbing her hand and trying to get her to, obviously he's got moments of, that he's present. And it was pretty obvious that she was PO'd and wanted to wring his neck. And so he puts his hand on her hand, trying to get her, because they're on a balcony, trying to get her to look back at the crowd kind of thing. And she looked over his shoulders as he's exiting and, wiping his nose. She was not happy. So while women have a tendency that they can really kind of hide that stuff. There are some moments that as hard as you're trying to not show an outward, like, I want to wring his neck, you can still tell. And it was pretty obvious she wanted to slap him silly.
Yeah, that there's, a lot of chit chat, to catch up on, but those I thought were definitely some of the highlights. And, to keep your composure, especially when you are in the public limelight like that, of course, I've witnessed that I should say I viewed that video several times, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And just for a moment, think about what it took for her really not to react in a manner that perhaps she would have behind closed doors. I mean, wow. That's all I'm going to say about that is wow.
Yeah, it was. But it is Monday mindset, and it's, you come off from a weekend. In our case, you come off from, a great week with the family, and trying to re-engage, getting focused to what you get done. And, a lot of people will say, well, you have this so much energy. Yeah, I do, because obviously we talk about nutritional deficiencies, but it's also a commitment and a mindset that you're determined that what, what your day is, plan it accordingly. I'd already planned, I didn't have my journal or my planner with me, but I kind of planned it out in my head. So I knew, look, I've got A, B, and C to accomplish once I get home, get that stuff. I mean, I don't know how many of you do this when you travel and then you get home, you're like, oh, it just feels so good to be home. And then, the luggage stays where it is and you don't get it done. That drives me kooky. I needed to be back in my normal space, which would include getting rid of all the luggage. I only had not a lot of laundry, but I still had, 2 loads I had to get done between what I left behind. So for me, I want to get all that stuff done. So like my schedule was cleared. Knew we had obviously our podcast, and I've got to help out some customers and just catch up on a little bit of paperwork. So how do you gear your mindset to say, you know what? I've got to get back in the group. I got to get back into my routine. And I just decided I wasn't going to think, I was just going to do. And a lot of people say, well, you got to think of what you're doing. You do, but I had already kind of prearranged it in my brain. Get home, immediately unpack. Don't even think about anything else. Get the laundry started. Get everything put away. Don't just take it out of the suitcase. Actually hang it up, put it back away. All your cosmetics, your toiletries, all that stuff. So I was determined, and I was determined to do it by 10:15 is what I had in my head, and I actually got it done 10:05. And that was in record time, because I was just like, I'm going to do it. So now I can say, now I can dive in to my normal routine. And while maybe, the podcast is a little bit later, and I've got a few other things that are going to be a little bit later, I'm still on course. And I think in order to make yourself not go cuckoo, you have to have a mindset that's going to kind of map it out, whether you have to write it down in a journal, whether you got to write it down in your planner. And while I didn't plan out the entire week, I had it somewhat scheduled before I left. So I wasn't going to come in and scramble to say, oh my God, I didn't, it's Monday mindset. I always plan on Sunday. I didn't plan on Sunday because I was visiting with family. So how am I going to do that? So I did a kind of a rough draft. So now I can go in and, okay, I got to tweak this time for this appointment, whatever it may be. And that comes with a commitment. And when you're committed, you will know that your mindset naturally flows with that commitment, because you're declaring it. You're going to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it done despite distractions, despite, my normal routine is a little out of whack, and just hop right into wherever you can to start that normal day of what you want to accomplish, but whether that includes your errands, like the things that you would normally do. So I'm giving myself I would say I can give myself an A for keeping motivated and on point with my mindset to make sure I got done when I wanted to get done by the time I wanted to get done. AAA.
Yeah, and there you go. And that's great because, part of the thinking process of mindset, of course, is just doing it. And I always correlate it back to kickboxing. One of my instructors one time said, don't just think about doing a jab cross, just do it, like connect your body with that. It's all about the connection aspect of it. And on that note, let us know what you're up to on this Mindset Monday. We would love to hear from you. Go to our website, www.twosistas.online. Send us in a voicemail. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 6.0, and I'm with
TwoSistas, and this is Carol, so AKA Naughty Boss. Glad to get back in the driver's seat of getting back to my routine, as I hope all of you are doing. Remember, write things down, set those goals for yourself, get your mindset in a positive way. So when you may have to triumph over something, or you've got to renavigate, that you're not so frazzled. Women are very strong, men are very strong, but there are times where we're like, you want to wring that neck. Well, you can prevent that by using some common sense and making sure that you're not even overscheduling, which is another reason why some people's mindset gets a little nutty, because they're overscheduling themselves. Schedule what you think you can do, as well as have success at what you're going to do. And with that, we will see you tomorrow for Triumph Tuesday. You take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
I